We never know where life will lead us or what may hinder us along the way. But while every day can feel like one big question mark, it doesn't have to. With the right insights, strategies, and solutions from Western and Southern Financial Group, together we can look ahead to leave the unknown behind.
Two podcasts in one day, Mike. How does it feel? Have we ever done this before? I feel like we have. Have we done a double pod day? Double day season?
I don't know if we have, actually. I bet we haven't. That's a lot of podcasting.
What'd you do in between the pods?
I worked. It was a big work day. Finishing up the draft guide.
The draft guide, which comes out January 31. January 31. New draft guide on PFF.com. If you're an Edge or Elite subscriber, subscribe now. 25% off with promo code TAILGATE, TAILGATE, promo code TAILGATE. If you're interested in an Edge or Elite subscription, that draft guide, courtesy of Mike Renner, drops on Monday. Catch an Early Buzz. I didn't think we'd have a Catch an Early Buzz segment in between the first pod we did this morning and this one, but in between those, Sean Payton, New Orleans Saints head coach, there for 16 years, obviously decorated, won Super Bowls. He is out. He's out as the head coach. He's officially retiring, so he's retiring, right? But now there are reports that he's just taking a break. 58 years old, wants to prioritize his family, move away from football for a little bit. What this sounds like to me, and we'll get into what the Saints should do as a head coach and what they should do at the quarterback and the cap space and all that, but what this tells me is he's going to come back to a different team. Some people are talking about the Cowboys if Mike McCarthy is on his way out in Dallas, but he's going to come back to the NFL, probably to a good situation, and look to go back to the Super Bowl here soon.
He sees what we were saying last offseason. If you listen to this podcast, back then it was 2-for-1 drafts, but what we were saying about the Saints, that it was a run. They were with the cap situation last year, over $100 million over. They did everything they could to run it back. And they kept their core intact in terms of the elite players on that roster and made certain that those guys are going to stick around, whether it's pushing some cap hits for them out into the future or whatever, to get underneath that cap, and they did it. And they ran it back, and they didn't have Drew Brees at the helm. And now Drew Brees kind of showed himself in 2020, and obviously Jameis Winston getting hurt set them back. But the writing is now on the wall that there's no improving this roster. Mm-hmm. And Sam Monson had a tweet today saying they're not in cap hell, and they're not. They can get under the cap. It's not like they have to cut their best players to get underneath. They don't have to cut Michael Thomas. They don't have to cut Alvin Kamara. They don't have to cut Marshawn Lattimore, whatever. They can maintain those blue chip guys. But the difference between this now and why Sean Payton's stepping away and those Saints teams in years past and why they could keep getting away with it is that Drew Brees ain't walking through that door. There's no quarterback walking through that door. It's Taysom Hill. It's Ian Book. And Sean Payton leaving them high and dry with that as your QB cover is just diabolical, because he was talking them up all the time and all of a sudden realized, hey, those guys aren't the guys that's going to be getting it done, getting me to a Super Bowl. So that's the biggest difference here is, they can get under the cap, but they can't go out and get Deshaun Watson in a trade. They can't go out and get Aaron Rodgers in a trade. They can't go get Russell Wilson. Those guys are available, but they're in a cap situation such that they can't fit those contracts underneath it. So I think he sees that, we have a good roster. We can go 9-8. We can go maybe sneak into the playoffs. But are you going to compete? Are you going to run the table with what they have a quarterback right now? I think that's why he's stepping away.
Yeah, I think the lazy narrative that we'll see is that, he's retiring because the Saints are in cap hell and they're going to have to rebuild and they're going to have to trade away Alvin Kamara and Ryan Ramczyk and Michael Thomas. They have to do it. This thing's going to be completely reset. Mm-hmm. Arjun Menon, who's an analyst here at PFF, you can follow him on Twitter, Arjun Menon 100, tweeted out a really interesting graphic that shows, yes, they have the least amount of 2022 effective cap space, minus $66 million. But they also have almost $129 million of movable or structural cap space, which is the most of any team in the NFL. That is the wizardry, right? That is the wizardry that everyone talks about with the New Orleans Saints. When people consistently tweet out in free agency, the cap is fake, how do they keep getting away with this memes? It's because the Saints front office does such a good job with this restructural cap space figure that they can always get back to zero, right? They can always get back. But you are 100% right. When you are minus 66 million, even with the 129 million in restructural space, you're not going to be a player for an Aaron Rodgers or a Watson or even like a Derek Carr or some of these other veteran quarterbacks. You're going to have to get younger and cheaper at that premium position. It's why in my recent mock draft, I had them getting Desmond Ridder in the first round. I think they could maybe look to the second round for a quarterback. I was talking to Seth Galina, who is a Saints fan. Maybe they look at that route, but still, Sean Payton is not retiring because of the cap situation. In my opinion, he's stepping away from football probably for a lot of reasons we don't know, right? Stuff he's prioritizing in his own life, but also a factor has to be the quarterback situation, right? This is his first year away from Brees in a long time, and he knows that Taysom Hill, Ian Book, Jameis Winston, a combination of those three is not going to make them playoff competitive with how good that roster is. It's an opportune time to step away from football, reset, and then potentially look for new opportunities, obviously, maybe in 2023 and beyond.
Interesting timing, though, because, I mean, this is a while after, obviously, Saints season's end, 3 weeks post that win, and then 15 minutes later finding out they still weren't going to the playoffs. So a little bit interesting timing. I do think, obviously, there's not been a lot of moves to the head coaching sort of carousel, so they're not really behind the eight ball. I am curious to see where they go, though, because obviously Dennis Allen schemed up some wizardry on that side of the ball. He was fantastic on the defensive side of the ball. Our good friends, Moobs.
I love Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen is a glorified friend of the show. We need to get him on the podcast.
But they've also, they've won the best decade and a half in the Super Bowl they won because Drew Brees, Sean Payton, that offense. Two of those, those guys aren't walking through that door anymore. So it's going to be interesting to see what this Saints team looks like when basically all we've known the Saints to be ain't there anymore.
Let's spend some time on what you feel is the best next step for them, both from a head coaching candidate perspective and also, how do they approach the quarterback position and this offseason? Obviously, they're going to have to make some restructures to the contracts to get under the cap. Potentially, they do move on from a handful of guys. Like Michael Thomas is a name that comes to mind that maybe they do move on from with some of the relationships that they've had. One more comment on Payton, then we'll get to that. Mm-hmm. Did you see the NFL Network report that some of the Saints organization is just finding out this news as they are? Like, apparently he went completely dark and did not communicate a lot of things to the New Orleans Saints, and some people finding out just now. So I do think this was
that's why I said it's probably, with the timing being as it is, I'm not terribly surprised by that. He obviously was a very personal and not like something that he had probably planned on right away doing after the season.
Talking back and forth a little bit with Chris Collinsworth, he loves Eric Bieniemy. Big Eric Bieniemy fan, feels like that could be a fit in New Orleans. A lot of people, Seth Galina included, think Dennis Allen is the obvious candidate to move up into this head coaching opportunity. Between Bieniemy, Allen, or another, who do you feel like are some of the top names?
Yeah, I don't think you can lose Dennis Allen because that's what won them games this year. But also, offensive-minded head coaches are what has been winning a lot around the NFL. Obviously, whether it's Andy Reid, whether it's Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay in the NFC, that is the trend. And so I don't really have a good handle on right now. I do think it's going to come down, though, more to the scouting department because I think the next step for the Saints, and last season was the pivotal offseason. They made that was when you either make the sort of decision to rebuild or you make the decision to try to push this down the road because they had a lot of money coming up, whether it's guys like Ryan Ramczyk, Marshawn Lattimore. They were able to re-sign those guys, basically like I said, keep all their core players intact so that they are kind of kicking the can, that they are going to be right up against it, not really able to add anything in the way of top-tier talent in free agents, whether it's at the quarterback position or other positions. Still probably fit some, guys at maybe like a linebacker, maybe a guard or something to fill out that roster, but they're not going to fit big name guys onto this roster. So it's going to come down to quarterback. And it would not surprise me if in this draft, if they like a guy, there's someone they have fallen in love with, I don't know, TBD, if they go make a move and trade up, because obviously they're going to be right on the fringe. They're picking 18? Is that where they're at? That they aren't going to be in the mark for quarterback one if they sit there. And obviously the Saints, Mickey Loomis, MO, he moves up. If he likes a guy, if he identifies talent, he's going to move up. So I think there'd be major players in this quarterback class coming up.
I think it makes a ton of sense for them to be major players for the quarterback class. I don't know necessarily if this is the class to trade up for, right? Like, I don't know if this is the class to lock in on a guy, but if they do, like you said, it doesn't matter what we think. If Mickey Loomis likes a guy, he's going to go get him. That's what he's done with Marcus Davenport. He's done that with numerous players, even on day 2 and day 3 of the draft. The other comment I was going to make is some New Orleans fans are bringing up the name Joe Brady. Maybe not coming in as a head coach, but if they do promote Dennis Allen the head coach, maybe you bring Joe Brady to New Orleans as the offensive coordinator. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, I see nothing wrong with the way he did Carolina. You know, like it was not.
I think that's. I mean, obviously
there.
that's because the connection, right?
Yeah.
Joe Brady dominated at LSU, won LSU championship. New Orleans, obviously, big LSU fans. Maybe you get Joe Brady, Dennis Allen, the pairing down there.
I think what's his name, McMichael. He's not going anywhere. So if Dennis Allen is promoted, so he's going to stay at OC.
This podcast is brought to you by presenting sponsor DraftKings. 4 teams remain in the NFL playoffs, and that means only 4 teams left for you to bet on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Counting down to Super Bowl 56, new customers can get 56-1 odds on any team. Bet just $5 and $280 in free bets if your team wins. Now get not a new customer, you can experience the conference championships with same game parlays. Combine multiple bets with the same game for a bigger payout. The more legs you add, the more money you can win. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code PFF and get 56-1 odds on any NFL team. Bet just $5 and win $250 in free bets if your team wins. That's promo code PFF for 56-1 odds on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 years or older, New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit, $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. On to mock draft season. We like to do this in this time of year where we look at some of the thought leaders in the space to talk about, or better minds in the space, about mock drafts and what they're doing. First one I want to bring up, Dane Brugler, who's been on the show a handful of times. I think we're going to connect with him down at the Senior Bowl / East West Shrine, which we are leaving in 2 days. Leave for the East West Shrine Bowl in 2 days. First and foremost, where you got to start, shocking waves here. Jacksonville Jaguars, number 1 overall. He goes Ike Ekwonu. I thought PFF would be the highest on Ekwonu this entire draft season. He's a guy that's graded really well for us, but I didn't think he would ever be considered, a top offensive tackle prospect over Evan Neal, over Charles Cross even. And now this isn't Dane Brugler's rankings, obviously. This is just kind of how he sees the mock potentially playing out. But Ike Ekwonu, number 1 overall to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I will say, so he's OT1 for Brandon Thorne, who, if you don't know who that is, he's a offensive line analyst. He has his own newsletter called Trench Warfare that I subscribe to. It's very good. If you're into that sort of thing, highly recommend. There's not a better way to learn about offensive line play than from Brandon Thorne. He has Ekwonu OT1 because, Ekwonu has rare traits. And obviously Evan Neal does too. And that's why a lot of places have him OT1. But Ekwonu's more fluid athlete, in my opinion, than even Evan Neal. Evan Neal's obviously more explosive, just this rare size, explosiveness combination. But Ekwonu on the football field, it's indistinguishable. And if not, Ekwonu is more physically imposing. He is a dead ringer for his comp in the draft guide. Is why am I now blanking on his name in the comp of the draft? Kalichi Osemele.
Oh, wow.
He was a former Iowa State. If you would listen to the trivia that one time, he was the highest drafted player from Iowa State. Top of the second round. Massive dude. I remember back, 2015, whatever year it was, when Justin Forsett went for 6 yards a carry for the Ravens. Osemele and Marshall Yanda were the most dominant guard tandem in the NFL of the past decade. Those guys were monsters that year because Osemele was just 330 pounds and just threw guys. Just so many big-time blocks. Led the league that year. That's Ekwonu. That's what he can be now. Pass protection, TBD. And that's why I don't love this fit here. Jacksonville Jaguars, you need pass bro. If you are drafting a tackle, I'm probably going Charles Cross over Evan Neal, over Ike Ekwonu. I want the guy that's going to pass protect for Trevor Lawrence. But Ekwonu does have rare traits. I will say that.
Osemele, too, did have some games with the Baltimore Ravens, at least early in his career, playing offensive tackle.
Yes.
But he played mostly guard, especially when he got to Oakland. And that was when he was really dominant for those Oakland Raiders teams, 2016, 2017, 2018. Former Iowa State offensive lineman, second-round pick, 60th overall, 6'5", 330, bro. That guy was an absolute monster and an absolute road grader in the run game. I love that comp for Ike Ekwonu. Number 2, he has Aiden Hutchinson of Michigan, obviously going to the Detroit Lions. Kayvon Thibodeau at 3, going to the Texans. A lot of chalk after this. I don't want to read Dane Brugler's entire mock draft. Make sure you go subscribe to The Athletic. That's where Dane Brugler writes. It's a subscription service where you can read all of his content. It's a fantastic subscription. The Athletic does shit right there. Evan Neal going to the Giants. Not a lot of, again, like a lot of these chalky picks is where it goes. But what he did have high, what were we going to say?
I was going to say, let's move to the second round.
I kind of wanted to touch on one more pick in the top 10.
All right.
David Ojabo. David Ojabo goes 8. The Atlanta Falcons. He's the guy that's going to be on this podcast, I think, on the Thursday episode. That guy's going to get into content after he's done with the NFL because he is fucking electric on camera. He is a fun dude, super fun guy. He's down in San Diego training. I was talking to him a ton before we started recording about the food, dude. He's all in on San Diego food. Surprising no one, by the way. But David Ojabo all the way up at 8. I am still of the opinion that 8 might be rich for David Ojabo, as cool as he is, right? But, I mean, talking to him, too, his story is incredible. He did not play a lick of American football until 2017. Like, it's been barely 4 years. He only played, I think, 50-ish snaps in 2020, and then obviously played a ton of 2021 and broke out and was fantastic. Like, there is, and like, his
26 snaps.
26 snaps. His biggest rationale for like pursuing American football was that he was former high school teammates, I believe, with Jason Owe, and saw what Jason Owe was able to do, picking up the sport and playing well for Penn State. I think he sees how high Owe went, and obviously I think he can get into that tier because of the ceiling that Owe has.
Yeah.
But are you at all nervous of taking Ojabo in the top 10?
I will just say, before I get into that, the Jason Owe and David Ojabo going to the same high school thing, like those always blow my mind. Coming from where I lived growing up in the middle of BFE, Illinois, there was one guy in my like 4 or 5 years of like high school, and obviously we didn't even have a football program in my high school. There was one guy in the whole city of Champaign-Urbana, whole area, that like was even a notable prospect. It was Michael LaSure, former Illinois running back. He went in the second round. And there's high schools out there that have multiple first-round elite caliber athletes that just like still like doesn't process to me how that is possible. But David Ojabo, I think I said this back when Brugler was mocking him like 25th. I'm like, he's going to go higher than 25th.
Yeah.
This guy is a NBA lottery type of prospect in that you just haven't seen him. Like these NBA lottery picks, you've seen him play 1 year of college basketball. Sometimes they average like 12 points a game. And Ojabo, like he's probably averaging like 16 a game for Michigan. Like he's good.
You're making the analogy.
Yes, I'm making the basketball analogy. You're like, it was good. He
did play basketball.
He wasn't
the
stud. Like he wasn't the Aiden Hutchinson there dropping. He wasn't Kevin Durant his freshman year at Texas, going for 30 a game. This was a guy who was like solid. He was like, I'm really getting my
what is going on
I'm going
here?
really deep in this analogy right now. It was like Johnny Flynn coming out of Syracuse. But there's just a lot of traits to work with, and he's so raw for obvious reasons. Like I said, started playing football in 2017, but like not raw in the ways that guys are normally raw, because he looks like he really hasn't played a ton of football, but he has moves. Like he's obviously been taught moves and put them into action very quickly, and that's very encouraging. So with the body type he has, with the athleticism he has, and with what he's already shown, like we're just scratching the surface. So that's why I said like someone's going to fall in love with him. Someone's going to be like, I can get this guy to be XYZ somewhere down the line, especially when you're talking about like these top 10 teams that know it's a 2 or 3 year sort of investment because they're not going to be great next year. I would not be surprised if he does end up in the top 10, even if he's not going to be top 10 in the PFF draft.
I mean, those slots with the Giants and the Jets, I feel like make a ton of sense. If you're going to take him off the board that highly. And I think for Ojabo too, he has the tools, right? The prospect of this top 10 player. You just haven't seen him meet that yet, at least over an extended period of time. This year, he was phenomenal in the 1 year that obviously we got to see him play. He's a fun dude, though, man. Make sure you listen to that interview. I got one more pick before you fucking jump to the second round, okay? Give me some time.
Well, we just never get to those, like...
We'll get to the second round,
They're just like those teams that trade away the first round picks. They take draft season off, but it's like, no, you still got second round.
That's fair. Brugler giving us the second round content. You need to come out with a second rounder one of these days.
Yeah.
Logan Hall, defensive tackle for Houston, who I believe PFF is really high on compared to the consensus. He's a top 50 player on PFF's draft board, 6'6", 275, Houston defensive tackle, really explosive. Another guy that is going to come on a future episode here on Tailgate. He has him going 30th to the Bucs. I think that is the highest I've seen Logan Hall mocked. Now, he is pretty freaky along the defensive line for a guy that is his size. And Houston's kind of been a factory along the defensive line lately. Ed Oliver, Payton Turner, Logan Hall. He said him and Payton are big friends or really good friends. Logan, man, this going this high, I think this is paramount. It's paramount that he has a awesome Senior Bowl. He's going down the Senior Bowl. He goes in, dominates the one-on-ones, dominates down Mobile. People are going to talk a lot more about Logan Hall and move him up probably in the back of the first.
Yeah, I remember. So when I first started watching Turner last year, like in the spring, or it was probably in the fall, like late fall, because he had graded out well over the first like handful of games before he got hurt. I'm watching the tape and I'm like, they have two of the same guy. I'm like, who is this other guy that looks goddamn identical to Payton Turner? They were both like the same frame, doing the same moves, like attacking in the exact same way, except for Logan Hall is playing 3 technique and Payton Turner's playing 9.
Yeah.
Like I was like, it was wild seeing them line up on the same side. Sad that Payton Turner wasn't healthy because they could have done some things there for Houston last year back in 2020. But yeah, Logan Hall, I mean, the combination that translates to pass rushing prowess on the interior. And we said it like when Derek Brown was coming out, Derek Brown versus Javon Kinlaw, and obviously Javon Kinlaw has injuries, hasn't been healthy on the football field, but get off and length, or just like agility, like the twitchiness in general, paired with length along the interior is such a difficult combination for offensive linemen to guard. It's like that is how the plus pass rushers, whether it's, Fletcher Cox, whether it's Chris Jones, it's a very easy combination to project. And if you don't have, get off one, it's like paramount. You got to have that. And then pair the length with it. And it's like that is the guys who are making consistently impacts on the interior have that combination, or they just have elite get-offs with the Javon Hargraves, the Aaron Donalds of the world. So Logan Hall possesses those two things as better than anyone else in the defensive tackle class. So yeah, he's only 275 pounds. Going to have to get bigger to hold up on the interior, but I can see someone fall in love with him and draft him in the first round.
Yeah, he said even though he's listed on Houston's website 6'6", 260, he said he played nearly the entire season at 275 and is trying to maintain, if not maybe slightly bump up that weight. Now training at Exos. Moving to the second round, who are some of your favorite picks here that he has kind of lining up? I know inside the top 40, Myjai Sanders, the Cincinnati edge, going to the Denver Broncos is one that stood out to me. I'm a big Myjai Sanders fan. I think he's comfortably a top 50 player for me. Getting him at the top of the second round, I think is a big value. I know we talked to ton on Monday about Bernard Raymond, the guy who's coming, the Central Michigan offensive tackle. He has him going number 35 to the New York Jets.
He's going higher than that.
You think he's going higher than that? That's fair. That's fair. Who are some of your favorite picks in the second round from Brugler?
So I just wanted to go through the teams that didn't have first rounders and see who he has them taking here in the second round. So kicking off with Chicago Bears, and they're sitting at 39. I think they are in a perfect spot, and he has them going wide receiver here, George Pickens from Georgia. But that has been kind of the sweet spot for wide receivers past couple of years, just that right at the top of the second round sort of pick. There's still been a ton of talent available, and I think that's going to be the case once again this year. You had it 2 years ago, was T. Higgins, Michael Pittman. Last year, Elijah Moore. I think this year. So George Pickens, he has them taking now his tape this year, obviously coming back from the ACL. Or was it the Achilles? Achilles? It was ACL. Was not great. He was not healthy, and it showed in his snap counts. Like they didn't even have him playing that much in the national championship game, despite obviously kind of needing some wide receiver help there for Georgia. So not great tape this year, but you go back to his freshman season, it's like there's a lot that like he has that physicality at the catch point that's uncoachable. He's not that big, but he just knows how to separate, get that late separation, really good ball skills. So that would be a nice guy to pair with. I mean, he's kind of like Allen Robinson-esque skill set. They're going to lose probably Allen Robinson. He can replace that in that Chicago Bears offense. So I do think the Bears, top of the second round, makes a lot of sense for them to be looking at a wide receiver.
It also looks like in the second round, too, I think this is how it ultimately plays out. I don't think we've had more than one safety in our first round mock so far this year here at PFF. When you look at some of the safeties that he is able to slot into the back end or middle of the back end of the second round, you got Jaquan Brisker of Penn State going to the Dallas Cowboys at 56, Lewis Cine, the safety from Georgia, going to the San Francisco 49ers at 57. I do think that there is going to be value in this safety class in this second round. Another pick that I do like for in this second round is Kingsley Enagbare. Kingsley Enagbare, according to Trevor Sikkema, an analyst here at PFF, he's not a big fan of Kingsley Enagbare, but is one of the higher graded edge defenders that PFF's ever seen from a single season perspective this past year. A dominant pass rusher, a guy that is a little bit older, right? I think he will be at the Senior Bowl to show out in the one-on-ones. I think he has an opportunity, right, to go to the one-on-ones and dominate. He does that. He's comfortably a top 50 player. If he does look old, or maybe he can't win as much as maybe we've seen on tape at South Carolina. In the one-on-ones, there's opportunity to slip. But I think Enagbare, he goes 46 to Minnesota Vikings in the second round. That's just a name I don't want to fall out of the second round conversation. I really don't.
Explain to me how he's going to look old at the Senior Bowl.
Not look old, but I guess
you said that.
I don't know what I meant by look old, but I do think that the knock on him is that he's an older player. Yeah. He's just like an older player that maybe like a late
compared to the rest of the edge class, sure. And Enagbare he's not the toolsiness of some of the others in the draft class, and it's like he's a senior and still not. He's so wild with his pass rushing moves. Like he's not refined. Like you go watch Arnold Ebiketie, who is another riser this season, another guy on the edge. He has him going 61 here to Kansas State Chiefs. Another guy who's in the second round conversation. Arnold Ebiketie looks like he plays in the NFL in terms of like how he approaches blocks, how he uses his hands, all that stuff. Kingsley Enagbare just does not. And it's like you are that far along in your college career, and that's still an issue. So I think that's the biggest thing with him. Why, Trevor Sikkema might hate him as a prospect. I still think he's firmly a second round type player at the worst. But next team here that I want to highlight that doesn't have a first round pick, Seattle Seahawks. He has him going Daniel Faalele, the OT from Minnesota. And I see him as a second rounder. I just think first round picks are so valuable that a guy like Faalele that you kind of know it's a 2 to 3 year minimum. Like you know if you're throwing him out year one, you are going to have some issues more likely than not with him starting for you, especially at offensive tackle. Like I would rather go probably elsewhere at that position if I'm the Seahawks. But at the Seahawks draft plan, where they go is going to matter 1,000% about Russell Wilson and where he goes. If Russell Wilson's gone, if they trade him away, they're probably going to get back, first round picks in return. Throw out BPA, throw out need. It's going to be all just best player. Like you just need to acquire talent at that point because you're going to be in a rough situation, and they already are as a roster.
Another team that doesn't have a first round pick is the San Francisco 49ers. I kind of already hinted at where he had them slotted, but at 57, Lewis Seen, the safety from Georgia. Do you feel that's low for Seen, or why? I thought he was more highly considered as just like top 50 guy. I've seen him in some first round mocks as well.
Safeties is just value difference, like. You got to be Kyle Hamilton. You got to be like different in a way. Like you have to have something unique about you, whether it's 4.3 speed, whether it's your 6'4". You got to have something. And I'm not sure Seen does. I just think he's a very good all-around safety. I don't think he's running 4.35. I don't see him as that type of guy, even though I think he's a very good prospect. And that's just where the NFL is at that position right now. Even though I do think that with the rise and spread of the Fangio system, kind of that proliferating and that being the safety sort of usage of the day, coverage players at safety are getting more and more valuable. They are getting more on their plate in terms of coverage responsibility that I think we're going to see maybe a shift. When it was just single high guy, when it was all the cover three, when it's single high guy, box guy's responsibilities underneath zone, that's, glorified linebacker. Single high guy is a placeholder in a lot of those defenses. That's when you see a lot of those teams not cover these safeties. But when you're in too high, you can have damn near the same responsibility as an outside cornerback, and it's an easier throw for a quarterback to attack the middle of the field than it is for them to attack the edges of the defense. So some of these defenses are putting their safeties in as much a coverage role as some of their cornerbacks they're playing out there. So I do think that we may see a shift in that trend.
Could see, and when you say shift in that trend, shift in them going higher in the draft and also getting paid more?
Just teams valuing. Basically just across the board, whether it's paid more, wanting to sign their own guys, not letting guys like Adrian Amos walk to the Packers, like things like that. I think you're going to see that position start to
I think that's a great take, actually, because there are teams, right? You think about the Gus Bradley defense in Las Vegas, where they obviously play a ton of single high. They physically can't get into too high looks because they don't have.
They're other dudes.
Yeah, they don't have the safeties to do it, right? They're putting Dalton Levitt out there.
Those guys aren't versatile. Yeah, it's like you have a guy who is not versatile, who has to play the box. And at that point, you are. And you kind of are getting what you pay for that at that point.
And if there's an area on defense where you need more versatility, it's the secondary, right? Like you don't need 40 box players. You need guys that can all play deep and go back there. Last one, I think this is the last team that maybe doesn't have a first round pick, but it's the Indianapolis Colts. Jim Irsay, find the quarterback of the future in Indy in the second round. Carson Strong, Nevada, picked at 47. I like that value for Indy. They might have to go into the quarterback market, right? Get someone to compete with Carson Wentz, even though they don't have that first round pick.
Who did they again? Sorry.
Carson Strong.
Carson Strong. Okay, my bad. Sorry. I like it. I think Carson Strong, tape-wise, is a firm second-round value. Now, he has had a degenerative knee issue dating back to college. I personally am not, like, with his play style, does he need that knee to be healthy? I don't know. Like, I don't think so. Like, he's not – he doesn't win outside the pocket at all to begin with, but the man has – probably the best pure arm talent of anyone in this draft class, and just in terms of like just all the things that go into what makes, the umbrella term arm talent, whether it's release quickness and aesthetics, accuracy, arm strength. I think those are probably the three things, 3, 4. I don't know if you want to kick release quickness and aesthetics into one umbrella also, but those things are what make, in my opinion, arm talent. Strong, tight, quick release. Beautiful spiral, massive arm. Dude threw 70 yards through the air a couple of years ago on tape. And then he's been very accurate with the football, especially outside the numbers. So just is a statue. And I think his pocket presence and sort of how he plays in tight quarters needs to be better at the NFL level, because it's something he's going to have to do a lot more of. But yeah, if you're the Indianapolis Colts and you're kind of tied to Carson Wentz with that contract, and I guess not tied to it, but like with how much you gave for it and how little other options you have now with no first round pick, I would gladly take that, because like I said, you might be getting a value with Carson Strong because no one else can have them on the board.
Thomas Dimitroff, former GM of the Atlanta Falcons, was on the Ari Meirov show. And I think the reason Carson Strong is in this second round value is because of the lack of mobility. He says on the show, I'm not taking a quarterback unless he can move. And now, that's Dimitroff's opinion, but I do think that's a lot of the opinion in the NFL right now. There are a lot of NFL front offices who are looking at the value of mobile quarterbacks that are winning outside of structure with how they can manipulate the pocket, that don't want the immobile quarterback. I guess it's not that black and white for me, and it's obviously not even that black and white for Dimitroff, but I do think that will be the determining factor in where Strong is on these guys' boards, right? Front offices will say, are we willing to invest in a quarterback that can't move or can't move as well as we need him to versus other quarterbacks?
Yeah, I mean, the reigning Super Bowl champion could not move.
True.
A quarterback. It's like, at the end of the day, talent still talks. How you play the quarterback position still talks. That's a bonus, and it's a big bonus, and it makes up for a lot of other deficiencies. But if you are good enough at the whole playing quarterback from the pocket thing, it's not a necessity. It just helps raise your floor and your ceiling to a degree, but it's not a necessity.
I really like
there is one more team, though. There is one more team that doesn't have a first round pick, but they also don't have a second round pick. So it's the Los Angeles Rams.
Oh, damn.
And they'll be playing this weekend. So I don't think they're too upset.
Definitely not too upset. I love going into the second round of those mocks, able to talk about more players than maybe we normally get to. Before we get to the Mel Kiper Jr. mock draft and those reactions, Western and Southern want a chance to win the ultimate game day feast, whether it's football success or financial savvy. Winning starts with asking us questions. Would you like to know what it's like behind the scenes with Al on Sunday Night Football? How about a need to know for your financial future? Western Southern is teaming up with PFF's very own Chris Collinsworth to share insights that can help put you ahead on both your fantasy and financial scoreboards. Every submission earns you a chance to win the ultimate game day feast to celebrate football's favorite Sunday. We'll cover your catering up to $2,500, coordinate your order from a restaurant near you, and have it delivered on February 13th, 2022. And don't forget to check out the Chris Collinsworth podcast and Western Southern's Instagram for the answers to the best questions each week. Submit your questions at westernsouthern.com/feast. One more time, that is westernsouthern.com/feast. If you're watching on YouTube, check out the link in the description below. Remember, with Western Southern, you can rest assured on game day. Now, Mel Kiper Jr.'s mock draft, which you can get with an ESPN Plus subscription, would definitely support their content as well. Mel Kiper Jr., Jordan Reed, Todd McShay, all creating good draft content in addition to the other stuff that you can get at ESPN Plus. I don't want to read through all the chalk again. A lot of chalkiness, offensive lineman going to the Giants, offensive lineman Charles Cross going to the Panthers, but he does have Ajabo going high again. He has him going to the New York Giants at 7. That was one of the fits that maybe makes sense. Then the other piece of this is that I wanted to highlight was he has Arnold Ebiketie. I think this is the highest I've seen Arnold Ebiketie go. Arnold Ebiketie, the Penn State defensive end, goes 16 to the Philadelphia Eagles. That is definitely the highest I've seen him go. Do you think he is going to be, he's another guy I think is going to the Senior Bowl, comes up big with the Senior Bowl and becomes this top 20 player?
I don't think so. I really like him, but I just don't think he's going to test well. The comp and the draft guide for him, Charles Harris. almost messed up there. I mean, I did mess up. Charles Harris, obviously being the Missouri edge defender, gets drafted by the Miami Dolphins, struggles to even see the field. Now, obviously, goes to Detroit last year and has a breakout season, played very well for them. But dude ran like a 4.83 at the combine, so over 7-second 3 count, kiss death. I just think Ebiketie could be in that range of limited athletically. Now, I'd be very happy if he doesn't. If he tests well, he can end up here. I just didn't see it on tape. My guess would be that he is not going to test in that range. The one pick in this draft, though, that I cannot believe he skipped over, because this one blew my mind, and it's his QB1 off the board.
Oh, it's Malik Willis. Yeah, at 11.
11 overall. Malik Willis going to the Washington football team. He's going to be the one guy that you could tell me a vast range of landing spots, and I'd believe you. Like, if you told me that Washington's going to draft him, I'd be like, I could see that. If you tell me that lasts until the third round, I'd be like, I could see that. Like, just because that's his tape.
It's literally that range of outcomes on
Yes.
his tape. There is ugly minus 1.5 on PFF's grading scale, interceptions, bad turnover plays. But there's also like, oh my God, no other player in this class can do that type of tape on Malik Willis's tape.
And it's like, man, if you just called him a running back, like, he probably still goes like third round. So I do think with that in mind, he will go higher than the third round. But he just really is a guy that, the thing is, you're going to have to change your offense around him. And that's always kind of the thing that I think teams get hesitant by. And it was kind of the Lamar Jackson whole scenario, and why he ends up in a good landing spot with Greg Roman, a coordinator who has coordinated 4 athletic quarterbacks before and has coordinated run games for that, because that's going to be so important to Malik Willis. And it's like why Justin Fields goes to Chicago and can look like shit out the gate, because that offense was not built around his strengths. And so many offense coordinators are stubborn in the NFL. Coaches are prideful. They want their scheme. They want to win because of them.
Yeah.
They want to look good. And they want it to be because of what they did. Now, not because of, look at this guy who's running the football for me, is all, I think, a lot of the sort of pride and hubris, and why you see Malik Willis could very well, like I said, fall to the late second round, even if he does have some absurd talent and absurd ability. But I'd be here for it if the Washington football team drafted him. That would be an interesting fit. I don't think it's going to happen. I'll just say that I think that would be crazy. I think if he does sneak in the first round, it's going to be like late first, like Detroit at 28 or something like that. But hey, we'll see.
I mean, for those range of outcomes, right? He has Mel Kiper Jr. of ESPN has him going 11 to the Washington football team. We go back to the Dane Brugler mock draft. He has him going 43 to the Atlanta Falcons. Mm-hmm. That's wide spread for QB, right? You see some of that a lot of the time with other positions, right? Where like a combine or something, they have information. But quarterbacks that range from 11 to 43 in mock drafts is very rare. Can you modify
that's Drew Lock. That's Drew Lock.
That is Drew Lock.
That was Drew Lock.
I know you're big on not modifying unique. Can you modify rare? I think you can. Very rare. Yeah, okay, cool. Sweet. 2 players I wanted to bring up too, and I think we skipped over one, is 2 players where I think he was the lowest I've seen someone on in the first round. He had Derek Stingley Jr. of LSU falling to 8 with the Atlanta Falcons. Now, still a top 10 player. He's not like a meteoric fall. I don't think you can say that. But either way, a big fall. And then the other player I saw go down pretty hard is George Karlaftis. He goes all the way down to 23 with the Arizona Cardinals. I think I've seen him pretty comfortably inside the top 10 for a lot of people, at least right now. I guess your reactions to those falls.
Yeah, the Stingley one's the interesting one to me, because talent-wise, he's top 5 talent. Just purely, I don't know, the essence of how the guy is capable of playing football, that we've seen actually play football at times. But it's like, when did we really see that? Or how often have we seen that? Because he broke his foot or had foot surgery this past year, missed almost the entire season. Plays one Power 5 team in UCLA all year. Last year, had a leg injury, missed, I believe, 5 games for LSU last year. And down the stretch, like against Alabama, has plays where he looks disinterested on tape. Like that wasn't unique to him on LSU's roster. That was kind of their MO the past 2 years. Why, Coach O is now not Coach O. He is just O out there, not coaching anywhere.
No one just calls him O.
He's just O now. He's not a coach.
What's up, O?
Is because like LSU kind of didn't give a shit. Like a lot of these guys were not playing their hardest in some of these games. And Stingley like guilty of it himself. But he's capable of elite play at the cornerback position. So obviously we're going to be high on him here at PFF. We value that position. We call it the second most valuable position after quarterback. And I think he has skills to be a press man corner, but coaches don't love that. You know, like the effort is something that has dropped a lot of dudes in the NFL draft because teams don't love seeing that on tape.
A couple more comments on the Mel Kiper mock draft. The two Washington corners, Trent McDuffie, who is really high on PFF's draft board, he has going to the Buffalo Bills at 27. But then the other Washington cornerback, I don't think I've seen him consistently mocked in first rounds, but Kyler Gordon, who when I talked to McDuffie, he was like, Kyler Gordon's the most athletic player I've ever seen, like freak. Mm-hmm. He has him going number 31 to the Tennessee Titans, them double dipping at corner after taking Caleb Farley in the first round last year.
Yeah, so these guys, I mean, Gordon and McDuffie, both on Bruce Feldman's Freaks list. We're back to back, actually, on Feldman's Freaks list. And you watch them on tape and you're like, yes. You know, like some of those guys on the Freaks list, you go flip on their tape and you're like, okay, that guy ran track or something in high school. Like he knows how to sprint. He knows how to kind of game the system. It's not translating to the football field. These guys, it 1,000% does. I've been high on Gordon for a while. I mean, he's top 50 player on the PFF draft board and would not surprise me again the way, I mean, Kevin King was not thought of as like obviously Kevin King doesn't end up going in the first round, but he wasn't thought of as like a lockdown whatever corner by any means. Ends up going as a top 40 pick just because he was an athletic freak at the combine with his testing. So would not surprise me. Kyler Gordon blows up the combine, sneaks his way in the first round.
Last thing here on the Mel Kiper mock draft, Trey McBride, tight end for Colorado State. He goes all the way at pick 32 to the Green Bay Packers. If the Green Bay Packers picked, I know they're not going to be picking at 32 anymore. You're well aware. Trey McBride, your reaction to if the Green Bay Packers took Trey McBride in the first round?
Dude, why? Like their downfall the past 3 years was they drafted two tight ends in the third round who did nothing. Jay Sternberger's cut. Jai Jaguar had a massive drop on third down. Don't draft tight ends early. Draft wide
and
receivers.
they have Robert Tunyon.
Robert Tunyon's whatever, dude. But
you don't
draft wide receivers.
The tight end position is not if you're not going to like is Trey McBride, Jay Sternberger, Josiah DeGara even combined a significant upgrade over Tunyon. And Tunyon's whatever.
Draft wide receivers is all I said. Draft wide receivers, the data, whatever, all says draft wide receivers. The payoff is far, far greater than the tight end payoff. It's far, far greater. Draft wide receivers. I will say though, so we just talked about Stingley, talked about Trent McDuffie. Daniel Jeremiah has Stingley coming off the board CB3 in his first mock.
Oh wow, I didn't even see Daniel Jeremiah's first mock.
Daniel Jeremiah has Ahmad Gardner coming off the board as cornerback 1 to the Carolina Panthers, which, my God, if the Carolina Panthers draft another cornerback in the top 10, they're going to have CJ Henderson, Ahmad Gardner, and JC Horn on that roster. That would be, I mean, that's like how Eric Eager would build a defense, you know? Like that's, and it's Matt F. and Rule coaching them. I do not foresee that happening with this tackle class. I'll just say that. But Trent McDuffie is a guy who the more I watched, and he hasn't played a lot of man coverage. Like I think that's the biggest knock on him is he just hasn't done it. But he reminds me, it's going to be blasphemous, but he reminds me of Jair Alexander. And that Jair Alexander is just this elite athlete. He's short, but he's not small. And that's how I feel watching Trent McDuffie play. He's 5'10", maybe a shade under, but like he boxes wide receivers out. He plays physical.
Physical, man. He's
great
super
tackler.
Physical.
And he's just so explosive. And like I said, him and Gordon, Freaks List members, like if you can sell me on McDuffie over Derek Stingley, depending on your defense. I can see that. Like he has that kind of ability.
He and Bucky Brooks, two friends of the show, both have their first like mock draft 1.0s that have come out. I think some of the bigger takeaways there now that we're on mock draft reaction season. Like you said, Derek Stingley coming off as cornerback 3 behind McDuffie and Ahmad Gardner. He also has Treylon Burks going high. Treylon Burks goes to the Atlanta Falcons. Man, can you imagine Burks and Pitts? Burks is like 6'3", 225 monster with Pitts as well. That would be quite the treat there. He also has Kyle Hamilton going over Kayvon Thibodeau, which I found interesting. Kyle Hamilton going 3 to the Houston Texans, and then Kayvon Thibodeau going 4. But yeah, mock draft season, man. A lot of things going around. All this, I think, will be more solidified, or at least like more consistent after the combine, after the Senior Bowl. Like Charles Cross, who's like among a lot of people's boards, like a top 10 player, goes all the way to 20 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Early signs would point to that being an absolute slam dunk for a Pittsburgh Steelers team that needs desperately help along the offensive line. So this mock draft for the Steelers coming up big.
Well, also Bucky said he's higher on Ryman than most. Or I mean, not Bucky, DJ. Higher on Bernard Ryman has been going 17th to his Chargers. So
over Charles Cross.
And that must mean he really likes him. Me and DJ on the same train there.
Plus, DJ is a San Diego guy. If he's gotten a mock to the Chargers.
That's what I'm saying. He's the Chargers, what you call it? He announced the radio.
Chargers
just
legend.
The preseason, so.
Well, that's been the mock draft reaction season. A couple more segments, and then we'll get to the interviews with Rachaad White and Brad Hawkins. Before we do, Manscaped, proud sponsor of the Tailgate episode, and they have an updated read for you. Roses are red, violets are blue. Don't let the wild pube wreck you. Valentine's Day is just around the corner, and our sponsors at Manscaped are here for you with the best tools to get your balls ready for the special occasion. This V-Day, it's time to join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped, the leaders in below-the-waist grooming, with our exclusive offer. Go to manscaped.com and use code PFF for 20% off plus free shipping. The holidays went by so quickly. Did you remember to take care of your package with the best tools for the job? Did you? I'm asking. The Performance Package 4.0 from Manscaped is just the thing every guy needs in their life to make each and every day just a little more special. I'd like to propose making February 13th a national holiday as National Shave Your Balls Day. Who's with me? Honestly, I think this is one holiday that men and women can get behind. Manscaped created their products for a night just like this and will make your V-Day great. V-Day date to say, wow, great set of balls you have there. Have you ever gotten that compliment before Manscaped? Have you gotten it after? Not yet.
That's a no.
Get 20%. Get 20% off and free shipping with code PFF at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code PFF. Join Cupid, who I'm sure is scaped up to the brim, and shoot your arrow with Manscaped this Valentine's Day. I've kind of made it. Go ahead.
Is that a compliment? Like, sometimes there's compliments that like you don't necessarily really want. Is like someone complimenting your balls. Is that like I feel like that's a compliment that you'd rather.
I think it would just be off-putting, right? Like, I'm not ready. It's just a lot. I mean, I don't know. I guess I don't know. I've never been put in that position. Calling it a set, too. I feel like it's just a set is not, I don't know. That's just not where I'm heading. Yeah. That's not what I'm after. I think I have been using, though, pretty frequently the verb scaped. Like, are you scaped up? I don't know if they currently use that, but I think it's probably pretty big for them if they want to start. These next two segments, to delete your tweet, and his mother isn't even that high on him. Let's start with his mother one. That's when we look at a prospect we think that we're higher on, and somehow someone's higher. And this is kind of a stretch because there obviously are people that are really high on Ike Ekwonu. But Dane Brugler putting Ike Ekwonu number 1 overall. Like, again, I thought Ekwonu was going to be a guy that PFF was banging the table for because of how well he graded, but maybe isn't the same, build darling as Evan Neal or Charles Cross. But Ekwonu, number 1 overall on Dane Brugler's board.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think his mother's even that high on him because I just don't see it from a fit standpoint with Jacksonville. Trade standpoint, it's just the pass protection. It is an issue. And it's like he may end up a guard in the NFL. And that's like, you draft a guy number 1 overall, like the sort of the optics of it. If you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, you draft Ekwonu and you have to kick him inside the guard. It's like, I think if you're going to, if you want to tackle badly, I think you go out and sign one. If you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, you can't put the number 1 overall pick in that situation where he's going to be under the microscope protecting the blind side of Trevor Lawrence week after week. Like, you better hit on that. That's why I think they're probably going to go defense, where it's like the sort of the pressure that would be on a number one overall pick on the offensive side of the football right after you draft Trevor Lawrence, I think would just be too much.
Yeah, I don't think that people should forget that there are people that mock Ekwonu as a guard. Now, his improvement in pass protection, his feet improvement, all that stuff has more comfortably put him as top offensive tackle among a lot of people's eyes. You mentioned Brandon Thorne, Dane Brugler, et cetera, but still, that is a lot of pressure, especially when others are obviously like, there's more overwhelming support for Evan Neal or hell, even Charles Cross as this top offensive tackle prospect. That is rich. We'll see if it ultimately pans out. Let's get to delete.
Wait, I got to do mine now. I got to do my guy that like I said, I've been doing the final evals on all these guys. And actually we did just touch on him. The guy who after watching was just like, I'm not sure you can be too high on this guy. And it's Trent McDuffie, like the cornerback from Washington, had a kind of low key all-time season statistically out there for Washington. Now, we talked a ton about Ahmad Gardner and the statistical season that he put up over at Cincinnati, allowing like 127 yards all year long. Trent McDuffie allowed fewer. He only allowed 111 yards all season, 16 to 36 targets.
He was lights out this year.
The insane thing that I didn't realize was the run-pass splits against Washington this year, because how good that secondary was, him and Kyler Gordon. They were only in coverage 296 times, Trent McDuffie was, compared to 403 snaps in run defense. Teams were just running the ball down after down against Washington. Didn't even want to test these corners. I don't blame them. But 111 yards all season long. I think McDuffie is that level, top 10. Like, DJ has been going top 10. I think he's that caliber.
I think I'm going to bang the table for one of my guys,
Who?
George Karlaftis. I'm big on George Karlaftis. I see him falling. No, it's not just interviews. It's not just interviews.
But it's real. It was real with him, though, in terms of like everything where there's smoke, there's fire, in terms of like how hard that guy works, all the sort of preparation he puts in, and the literal improvement that you've seen in his game over the 3 years.
I think he's very comparable to Aiden Hutchinson, right? And Aiden Hutchinson and Kayvon Thibodeau are held in this tier over here. Yeah. And George Karlaftis is falling into the 20s in some mocks. I just don't think the tier is that far. Like, I don't think it's that far between Hutchinson, Thibodeau, and obviously George Karlaftis. I think he's that good. I think he's going to test in that same tier.
Ooh, see, I don't.
Not the bend. That's why I've had comps to Justin Talk. I do think the explosiveness he'll show up, though.
You're going to hate the comp in the draft, guy.
What'd you comp him to?
Courtney Upshaw.
Oh my God.
They're similar rushers. I mean,
is Courtney Upshaw the one that smokes cigs?
No, that's Tim Williams.
Okay, never comp anyone to Tim Williams in George Karlaftis' tier in your life.
Courtney Upshaw was this like, they're like oddly large edge rushers.
Yeah.
Where it's like, he's not tall. I think Karlaftis is probably 6'3".
Yeah.
Upshaw was like 6'1.5", 6'2", but still massive throughout the frame. Where like, it's just kind of
spread massive too, though.
Yeah.
It's not just like some squatty body.
Exactly. Like, it's just like the dude's thick. He looks like almost like a creative player on NCAA like 14. You know, like he's got that kind of frame where it's just like once you put the weight up, everything just starts like blowing up on like all proportionally. But he's a better prospect than Courtney Upshaw, obviously. But I just think he's got a unique body type that I just don't know how that's going to look once he gets to the NFL. Is why I don't put him in the same breath as those two, because they're just better athletes in my opinion. And also, like, you see,
I still think I'd take George Karlaftis comfortably in the top 10. I feel that good. I feel that good about Karlaftis in the top 10, especially when you compare some of the other players here. But hey, that's where I'm at. Maybe we'll be on this segment in the future, the delete your tweet segment.
Yeah.
The delete the tweet segment, you can use or submit these if you'd like. Send us a tweet that was just an awful take, an awful take that rings true today. This one's submitted by friend of the show, a Gator. Are we introducing Gator officially?
Gators. Yes.
Explain it.
You went on your Liver King rant. You've been watching Liver King videos apparently all weekend long. And he calls them primals, his fans, tailgate fans.
What's up, primals?
Gators. The Gators.
That's
I
rough.
think it's not great, but what else do we have? Tails?
No, not
Tailors?
tails. Not tails. I like Gators. Chomp chomp. We can kind of get the
Gators.
Florida steal. All right, Gators. This is from a fellow Gator, Tommy K _ NFL Draft. Username Bears Blog Baby, a literal king. His final 2020 quarterback class rankings, this is from April 2020, was Joe Burrow 1, Tua Tagovailoa 2, Anthony Gordon 3, yikes, the Washington State QB, then Justin Herbert, then Jordan Love, Jalen Hurts, Jake Fromm, Jacob Eason. The issue is obviously the Gordon over Herbert situation here.
At least he got Gordon over Love correct, though. I'm kidding.
That's rough.
That's gonna Pack fans gonna hate me for that. But yeah, Gordon over Herbert. Gordon had fans coming out of Washington State. He had also a noodle, and he had 4 seconds through every single snap. But he was accurate. I thought he would at least catch on, but sadly,
it's not.
It's more to playing quarterback.
Delete your tweet for this segment.
Oh, mine's fantastic. It harkens back to
oh no,
a time when I believed in a true freshman. And this was, I was watching, October.
You did hashtag vault me
did
for
hashtag
it?
vault me. October 2nd, 2018. Who was Clemson playing that day? So this was about the Clemson. This was 2018 when Clemson had Cleveland Ferrell, Dexter Lawrence, Christian Wilkins. Ferrell goes 4th overall. Wilkins went, 13th? I think Lawrence went 19th. I think those were the numbers on those guys. And I tweeted that Xavier Thomas will be the highest drafted player from this Clemson D-line. Xavier Thomas, I believe, came back to Clemson once again. That was in 2018. He is still at Clemson. So I still got a chance. But man, he was so good as a true freshman. 5-star, coming out, 6'2", like 270, nasty bull rush. I'm like, this dude's a bull rushing as a freshman. What's he going to be when he's a senior or junior? Coming out? My God. John Ledyard actually said, I don't disagree at all.
Yeah.
I had people.
You had people with you. You had fellow Gators out there.
Yeah. The Gators were on board.
So you go back to that 2018 season. I looked it up. They played Syracuse September 29th. He had an 81.0 PFF grade, which was, I think, the third highest of his career thus far. So he peaked early, which is fine. Maybe you could say the same, but that one's not that bad. It's not nearly as bad as mine. Mine is legitimately horrendous. I wrote a whole article on the subject.
Oh, no.
This was on Justin Jefferson. Now, it's a part of a tweet thread where I felt that Justin Jefferson was creative and he's patient, deceptive, all these things as a route runner, coming out of the slot, played a ton of the slot. I comped him to a more athletic Cooper Kupp, which I don't feel all that bad about. I still feel
that's actually great.
I still feel pretty good about the more athletic Cooper Kupp. I do think that's the type of player Justin Jefferson is, but I did write in an article, don't expect him to consistently win more valuable routes outside the numbers, and don't draft him ahead of guys in this class that can, which was pretty heinous. I just did not feel, based on the tape that he had, I think it was the one season in 2017 where he played predominantly outside receiver. A lot of his separation on the outside was with double moves and kind of created, schemed open targets. And then in the slot, he goes to the slot and obviously he just gets a ton of free releases and he's able to get through a lot of scheme stuff and worked with Joe Burrow. Since then, obviously, he's been fucking awesome in the NFL, and that's been a terrible take, and he's done a lot to create separation on the outside. He has been a lot better on the outside in the NFL than I previously expected.
Yeah, I think one of the bigger things that I've taken away from the Justin Jefferson situation is don't care about previous tape. Don't watch sophomore tape. That was my biggest thing. It was he wasn't winning on the outside as a sophomore, and it's like.
He was a young player coming out,
exactly.
Too.
It's you can be a different player altogether from sophomore and junior year. One of the guys, I went back and watched Sky Moore's sophomore tape just because I was like, I want to see, was he, because Dwayne Eskridge was obviously dominating for Western Michigan last year, and he still put up good numbers. Sky Moore did. But I went back and watched him this is not the same. If I would have watched that tape and had that in my mind as kind of the anchoring effect of how I felt about Sky Moore, I probably wouldn't be as high on him as I am now.
True.
And it's you're a different dude. You're these guys are 19, 20 years old. They develop physically and mature at different paces and a lot. You can change a lot in those 1 to 2 years. So to go back and watch a sophomore tape didn't make a lick of difference on who he was as a prospect. That had no bearing on what he would be in the NFL. And I think that was my biggest sort of regret on Justin Jefferson. Going back.
And I think, again, the only reason you're even going back and doing that exercise, right, or placing any value in that is because that was the one season that he played a ton on the outside, right? Since then, after that, you saw his entire development in the slot, and the route tree you run from the slot and the opportunities you get from the slot are so much different than what you get on the outside that it's hard to compare. Now, the other takeaway
and then I do think that the slot production sort of knock that we say a lot, I still think it's valid. That's not where we went wrong in the whole Justin Jefferson situation in my eyes. Having a guy just sit over the middle of the field and get targets and put up numbers, those aren't those are funny numbers. Like those aren't directly comparable to like what Jamar Chase was doing in that offense, you know.
But all the skills that he showed from the slot were evident. Deceptive, creative, patient, ball skills,
Yeah,
catch
the ball
over the middle,
skills were
catching
just
traffic.
the
It was
thing
all that. The one thing was, can he create separation on the outside?
Yeah.
And like, could you have told some of that story with his athleticism and how he approached the slot? Sure. But I think, again, put too much value in that tape. We did see him on the outside where he was obviously significantly younger and missed on. We had Jalen Reagor over him. That's freaking insane.
Hey, so the Eagles. We're not that dumb. But
Still
would rather
did we have India?
Jalen Reagor still made more of an impact than Jordan Love. Oh, I can't keep going back to that. But what'd you say?
Didn't Andy Isabella also we have over
was
just
different class?
Different class. I feel like I get the classes mixed up. But that's going to do it for this first portion of the episode. Let's go ahead and get to these interviews now. Arizona State running back Rachaad White, and then Michigan safety Brad Hawkins. Now joining the Tailgate podcast is Arizona State running back Rachaad White. Man, I got to admit, you have some of the best tape to watch in all college football, man. You are a broken tackle machine. It's great to have you on the show.
Appreciate you.
You've great.
Having me on the show.
Of course, man. I want to get into your offseason. I want to get into how you're preparing for the draft, but I have to focus a little bit on your background. You're a former JUCO running back, correct? And then you committed to Arizona State, had 2 years there, graded really, really well in 2020 and in 2021, 87 plus PFF grades in each of those years. Talk me through your road to Arizona State, right? Coming out of high school, going to junior college route, and then obviously getting to Arizona State.
It's been a long journey. As we can see, but wouldn't trade it for the world. Just coming out of high school, I was all right. Like I was saying, kind of the same thing everybody seen at Arizona State was kind of how I was in high school. But other than the Division I did pull the trigger on me, so I actually ended up going Division II because my high school coach just preached, a degree is perfect. Any opportunity, things like that. And that's just, so I was just humble at least to, get a Division II offer and things like that. I wasn't really a greedy guy growing up, but I had got to the Division II and I liked it a lot. And I had redshirted. I was, taught a lot of lessons in the fall of 2017. But I just kind of realized that it's just what the Division II wasn't where I seen myself, envisioned myself. And I was fortunate enough to, have a lot of older junior college guys, at the Division II that I was at. And they kind of understood the same thing for me. They had the same, vision and seeing something in me that I seen in myself. So, I just communicated and talked to them. And they was just, filling me in on junior college because, like I said, my high school coach, he just, was very, he was very determined on, getting a degree, just, taking any opportunity that you can. So when they filled me in on the junior college route and how to go, I end up started reaching out. They end up reaching out to their coaches and things like that. And I end up starting reaching out and talking to their coaches and getting recruited from the California JUCOs. After that was kind of history. I got, a couple coaches wanted me to come to their junior college in California. I ended up, choosing Mount Sac, and, I ended up just going there, and, it was a difference. My whole life changed. And then from there, my first season, it was all right. They kind of, how can I put this? They kind of just, bring me in. They had other running backs there, and, they just made me work for everything. And, I worked my way up. By the fifth game, I was starting my first year. And by my sophomore year, I just kind of went to work and just, put my head down and grinded. And my sophomore year in junior college, it was kind of history. And I was blessed and fortunate to get them out of offers. And I ended up choosing, to go to Arizona State. Coach Herman and all them.
So did you fall in love with the West Coast then, right? You go to a West Coast junior college, but then coming out, you had some offers from Indiana, Tennessee, I believe, Hawaii. You could have gone all the way out there. And then you ultimately make the decision to go to Arizona State. I guess what kept you on the West Coast?
The weather lovely. You can never, there's no complaining about that. But no, what typically boiled down to my decision of college is just what coaches and and what system I felt like, would put me in a great position. And kind of that's how I look at things and how I go about things. I'm a big thinker, and like when it comes to that, because it's very important, for a football player to be in the right system. So that's what I believe in. So I feel like they was the right system for me. Everything they did. The offensive coordinator had 1,000-yard rushing backs every year since he's been the offensive coordinator in college. And so it was just, like I said, history.
That's awesome, man. And so I guess you mentioned him, but talk to me about your relationship with Herm Edwards. I know we've had him on this podcast before. He's got a certain energy about him, right? That he can recruit anyone and make a fan out of anyone. But I guess talk about your relationship with Herm.
Yeah, certain charisma, certain energy. For real, my relationship with Coach Herm is great. He's just a great, man, a great leader. Someone that you can follow and learn a lot of lessons from in life in general, not even in just football. Just the things, just the obstacles and things that like he provides and the knowledge and the understanding of football that he gives off and rubs off on you. It just goes to show a lot. And the thing about him is he really cares about guys, and kind of that's a big thing in his world. Like, at the end of the day, it's a business, but I mean, when it comes to college, guys are still 18 and kind of growing up, and he's really genuine and he cares about guys, and he just wants to see guys be great, and he just wants guys to perform at their best. So that's kind of how he is, man. He's a great leader, though. He could lead you into I don't know what. Like he could lead you into the Army. He could do anything. He could talk you into doing anything.
That's incredible, man. So let's get into your career at Arizona State. Obviously, in 2020, it was a COVID-impacted season. You only had 42 carries in that season because it was so short, but you still showed a lot of the flashes that you showed ultimately in what was a full-time role at Arizona State in 2021, 1,000 yards rushing, over 400 yards receiving. Going from 2020 to 2021, did you know that you were going to kind of take this jump, right? Did you have that feeling that this was going to be the year where you really showed out? I mean, in reality, I just, like I said, I was just grinding. I was just training. I just was, adding things to my game and things like that. So, in reality, I knew that what I was capable of and believed in myself. But at the same time, we shared a backfield at first, which, I'm the type of guy like I listen to my coaches. I do everything my coaches tell me to do. So, I believed in the message they was getting at it. I'm thankful that I did share the backfield in reality because, it was just less, burden that I had to carry early on. But, I mean, like I said, in reality, they just put me in great positions, and that's just the type of guy I am. When opportunity comes, I'm just trying to, make the best of that opportunity. And that's what I was trying to do, just do whatever I can to help my team win. And we needed, the production that I gave. 6'2", 210. Your running style is very elusive, very efficient. I love what you did in the passing game. I guess speak to how important being a receiving back is, right? Going into the NFL, you know how much throwing the football matters in the NFL and how much running backs now have to do more than just carry the football. I guess how excited are you to continue to prioritize catching the ball out of the backfield and positively affecting the passing game as you go on to the NFL?
Honestly, it's very important to me. In reality, for me, it's just being an every down back.
Yeah.
I really pride myself on that. I don't like to be labeled like scat back or this and that. So, you just some things you take, and that's everybody. You take as a chip and stuff like that. So, just being able to catch the ball, it all credits to. I mean, like I said, when I was younger, I always just threw the ball around. I had 3 older brothers, so we always played catch. Even if they didn't play catch, I always had a football in my hand, and I'm laying down and just tossing it up in the bed. And then growing up, the office that I ran in high school, and then it went from so on to so on. So I really pride myself on working on that. I always stay working on that. I just wanted, like I said, be able to, create mismatches all over the field, be able to add a little more to my game, and the catching the ball is just a great thing that I'm blessed and grateful to have.
You're going to have such an awesome opportunity to show that skill set, right, in the passing game and as a runner at the Senior Bowl. I know you accepted an invite to go down to Mobile and play at the Senior Bowl. You have one-on-one opportunities against linebackers and slot corners, obviously the team drills, and ultimately the game at the back end of the week. How excited are you for that opportunity, right? I think running backs put in this position to go down there and show out as receivers and as runners.
I'm just very blessed, very grateful to have the opportunity. Not a lot of people gets the opportunity. I'm just ready. It's kind of, I'll be saying to people, football for me is just kind of natural. So, just ready to go down there. And honestly, I always preach to myself, like in reality, you got to be you, be yourself. You can't change, and you got to keep doing what got you here. So I'm just glad, to get the opportunity, glad to go down there, actually see scouts, things like that. And, glad to go down there and touch a football and things like that. Cause obviously I ain't touched football since U of A. So.
You're also in Arizona training with Exos, preparing for Combine, Pro Day, all of that stuff. How has that process been so far? What's the diet looking like? Is there a certain weight you're trying to work up to? I guess talk to me about that experience.
Actually it's great right now. Weather lovely. Really it's just a certain plan that they got in mind. And a certain technique that has been successful for them, that has worked for a lot of guys, that has came through this Exos and Exos in general, the other ones around the world. And I really specifically like the plan that they be having for guys, because you can see the improvement, and so it's really been lovely. You meeting other guys that trying to accomplish the same goals and do the same things as you, so you creating more just friendships and stuff like that, and understanding at the same time while you competing. And then, the diet, they be strictly on that. They don't like you really eating outside. So they feed you, they feed you, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, snacks and shakes and all that. And they get you right. Am I working up to a certain weight? Kinda. I want to be around 215-ish or so. 215-ish or so, maybe just a little bit above that. But I just kind of let it come naturally and things like that. And with the diet that they got me on right now and everything that they got me doing, I like where I'm headed.
Gotcha, man. So 215 kind of the goal. What weight did you play this past season at? Around that 210, 205 range?
Yeah, I played this season at 210.
Gotcha. One more question for you and let you go. I really appreciate the time, Rachaad. In this pre-draft process, man, you're going to get picked and prodded in these interviews with teams. Dude, how much do you love football? All these different things. Going into those interviews, I guess, how are you answering that question? How important is football to you?
Football is very important. Football is my life. I've just been playing this since I was a kid. I always loved it, and I still do love it to death. And it just goes to show. Like you said, you watch the film and things like that, and you can just kind of tell it with certain guys and who loves it and things like that. And that's when things like coaches really, they're gonna question. But for me, they don't ever have to question, because this is what I do. This is what I want to do. And like I always tell myself, I ain't gonna lie. I don't do football for the money. The money, it just comes with it, but I do football because I love it, and so I'm not worried about, I've been playing football without a check and things like that for the longest. So I always keep that same mentality. I want to be great. I want my story to be better than what it is right now. I want to be able to hold up a gold jacket, and then we, doing interviews talking about, wow, this is crazy. This journey of, he came from, a Division II or junior college, and he it's a Hall of Famer. So that's the type of stuff that I look at it and want to do. Also want to inspire kids, where I'm from, guys JUCO and guys Division II or something. You feel like you more than what's given off, or what's been, the opportunity that's been given to you. There's nothing wrong with going out and envisioning yourself and challenging yourself to get more out of yourself.
Phenomenal stuff, Rachaad. Really appreciate the time, and I wish you the best of luck moving forward.
Thank you. Appreciate you so much for having me.
Now joining the Tailgate podcast is Michigan safety Brad Hawkins. Brad, great to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, man. You have been at Michigan for some time now. You've been there, I think, for 5 years total. You're from the New Jersey area, at least I believe. Talk to me about before Michigan, right? What was your recruiting process like? I know you ultimately enrolled in Michigan, but what was the recruiting process like? What led you to Michigan?
Yeah, so once Coach Harbaugh got the job, and Chris Parcher was there as well,
Mm-hmm.
a former Jersey guy and somebody that I was definitely familiar with. And just a lot of guys, from Jersey went there. We took our visits together, and just being up there with those guys, and with that, staff, it was just amazing. It just was so family oriented. The campus was amazing. The life outside of football was amazing, and of course the academics. That definitely played a big part in my decision, and I just fell in love with it right away. So it was just, I feel like it was the best decision for me, and just looking back at it, I'm glad I made that decision, and I came out with a degree, and this past season was just awesome, and I just feel as though that was the best decision for me.
You've been in Ann Arbor then for 5+ years. I recently made the trip this past year. Are you more of a Skeeps guy, or what's your go-to Ann Arbor college bar, or what's the best food out there in Ann Arbor? What were your normal go-to spots?
Yeah, I will go to Pizza House a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Skeeps a couple times. The main lounge I would go to was Study Lounge.
Yeah.
But as I got older, I kind of, didn't really go out as much. Kind of more of like a chill, laid back type of guy.
Mm-hmm.
Just stay in the house, watch some football, watch some movies and things like that. So, I went out for a good portion of my freshman and sophomore year, but after that I kind of, chilled it out and just, laid back a little.
How would you say, having been at Michigan for now 5 years, what would you say has changed the most about your game in that time, or where would you say you've improved the most, year over year there at Michigan?
Yeah, just learned a lot of football. I had different, DB coaches, all my years that I was there. So I was one of those type of guys that, had to learn different schemes, had to learn different techniques and things like that. And then, I got my position changed. I was a wide receiver coming into the University of Michigan. My freshman year, I played a little bit of Viper, like kind of linebacker-ish. And then I got moved to, safety my sophomore year. And I started to get in rhythm, started to play a little bit. And, it's been awesome, man. This past year, getting Mike McDonald and, playing in that scheme, that type of Baltimore Ravens scheme, that NFL scheme. And I feel like it just, made my game grow because I was just versatile, played a little bit of linebacker, played a little bit of big nickel, played down in the box, played in the middle of the field. And, I feel like, just as a person, I grew so much and, just learned, so many different things, from so many great coaches. And, I'm just blessed to, been in that position and, just learn from those guys and, get better at, my craft.
I was going to mention your versatility. You've played, a whole host of positions in your time at Michigan, but this year specifically played a lot more deep safety, right? And you're listed at 6'1", 220, one of the bigger deep safeties out really in all of college football. How much did you like playing that position a bit more, right? Being a little bit further back from the line of scrimmage and having that opportunity to be a bit more rangy and make plays?
Yeah, I loved it. That off season, before, my fifth year, worked on my range, worked on my speed, worked on my hips. So, just being back there, just being the quarterback of that defense and being the leader of the secondary, seeing everything, putting guys in position, communicating. I feel like it just made me grow so much more. And, just being the leader, of that, defense and of that secondary. And, just playing back there deep, I've seen a lot of different things, got the opportunity to read offenses and, just look at the game a lot differently. And, I definitely appreciate Coach Mike for that because, I feel as though that it made me so much of a better player.
It was obviously a storied year for the University of Michigan, a wildly successful one. You guys weren't even ranked on the AP Top 25 poll. You end up going to the college football playoff. Walk me through just this season, game by game. How exciting was this for you? I guess obviously ending your last season there at Michigan, being as successful as it was. I guess walk me through what it was like preseason, then going into this year, then beating Ohio State. I had to have just been an insane year there.
Yeah, so starting in January, winter workouts, me, Aiden, Josh, Cade, all the leaders on the team and the captains, we came together and, we got this leadership group going on. Something that we didn't do, all the years that I was there. Had a leadership group, met every week. And the younger guys, they bought in, they listened to us. When we wanted something done, we let it be known. They did it. It was no fussing, and, everybody was just on the same page. And, like I said, it started in January. We attacked the winter workouts, and then we went into spring ball. We attacked spring ball. We had so much fun playing football, so much fun learning this, new scheme that we was in defensively. And, we just attacked it day in and day out, put in the extra work, was watching extra film, was watching some of the NFL guys and, the way that they do things. And then, we hit the ground rolling into, summer conditioning. Everybody was getting in shape. Everybody attacked that as well, went into camp, attacked it, kind of everybody, had their best, was competing, every single day, depth chart moving, everybody moving in different spots. So, every single day you got to, bring your A game, you got to compete, and you got to go out there and you got to dominate every single day. And then, going into the season, we knew as a unit that this was different. This Michigan team is different. We all were saying it, before, the season even started, we could be special this year. This Michigan team is very, very different. And, game by game, we start stacking days, we start getting better, and we set our goals, win the next game. That was the first thing, win the next game, beat Ohio State, win the Big Ten championship, win the national championship. So, all of our goals were right in front of us, and, we just continued to climb the ladder. I feel like our turning point was when we lost to Michigan State. We came together as a unit that Monday. We had a big meeting, just players. We all dialed in. We all told, everybody that everything that we want is in front of us. And, nobody flinched. We continued to, attack. We practiced even harder. And then, we continued to grind out throughout the season. And then, going into Ohio State, I feel as though we had our best preparation week that we had all year. Everybody was bought in. Everybody was just focused. There was no distractions all year. And, we went into that game so confident that we knew we were going to win that game. And we just competed on all levels, offense, defense, special teams. And, after that game, it was all, we enjoyed it. We enjoyed the win and, went into the Big Ten championship, dominated, and, just continued to grow as a unit and went to the playoffs. Things didn't go the way that we wanted it to go, but we still was happy with, the season that we did and, how we, came together, all of fifth years and seniors, and, just dominated this season and, put Michigan football back up top and, beat Ohio State and, set the standard for all the guys that, coming after us and all the younger guys, now they know what the standard is. So, when they get older and, they're ready to lead and, they're the captains of the team, they know how we ran it. They know how it's going to be ran. And now that standard for Michigan is going to be forever set.
Phenomenal stuff, dude. I want to ask about one specific game, Ohio State. It was obviously marked on your guys' calendar. It was in Ann Arbor, snow coming down. I think you guys are 14-point dogs. No one gave you guys a chance, right? No one even felt that you guys were going to keep that thing close. You go in, heads down. Aiden Hutchinson has an absurd game. That defense, that running attack, Cade McNamara, everyone shows up. I need to know, what was the post-game celebration like? What was that experience like? And just how big of a win was that for the program?
Man, starting with the win, it was just a huge win, for the Michigan whole program, for the fan base, and, all the Michigan alum. We were attacking that win for over a decade, I would say. And, we finally got it done. So it was just, amazing to be a part of it. Amazing to just have that feeling of, getting that monkey off of our back. So it was just, phenomenal. And just like, after the game, the post game, everybody rushed the field. It took me 30 minutes to get off the field from sideline to sideline. So, just that's the first time I've ever been in that, type of environment when someone stormed the field and we won. And it just was an amazing feeling. And, I wouldn't trade it for anything. And, just going through those next 3 days, just knowing we finally beat Ohio State. We finally set the standard for these guys. We finally got it done for Coach Harbaugh. we all went out there, we played for each other. We played for our head coach because, like you said, everybody doubted us going into the game. Nobody thought that we were going to win the game. Nobody thought Coach Harbaugh could get it done. And, he's an amazing coach. We all love him as a coach. We all love him as a person. And, we got that win for him. And, of course, we got it for ourselves.
Now going into the offseason, I know you're in Arizona training with Exos. How, what are your goals going into this offseason? What are you prioritizing right now? Is it diet? Is it, obviously working for these drills? What are you looking forward to the most in this offseason?
Yeah, of course, diet, eating right, and then, getting my 40 time the way that I know that it's supposed to be and the way that I'm capable of running. It's been an amazing, experience. I've been here going on 2 weeks. I feel as though that I'm already getting faster and stronger. My body's already changing. And it's just amazing. And, I'm just, this off season, I'm just really just grinding to get my body healthy again. And like I said, just, my 40 time and, going out there, getting more flexible, getting my hips right and things like that. So I also lost a little bit of weight as well. So I'm not as heavy as I used to be. So, but, and I feel great, but I'm still as strong as I was. So, it's just, just getting that balance of, the weight that I want to be and still having my strength.
One more question for you, and then I'll let you go, Brad. I know you accepted an invite to go to the East-West Shrine Bowl in Las Vegas. I guess, how much are you looking forward to that opportunity?
Yeah, I'm just, so excited for that. I leave in a week and a half. I'm just excited to get out there and, show people what I got, show people that I'm versatile, that I can cover tight ends. I can even cover receivers. I can play in the post, and I can also play in the box as a linebacker, and be physical. So I'm just, ready to, just, show people and, show the scouts that, I'm capable as well. So in my communication and, things like that, and just, how intelligent I am of, just learning defenses fast, being in the right spots and things like that. So, that's definitely a great opportunity for me. And, I'm so excited to, get ready to, play in that East-West Shrine game.
Brad, this has been fantastic. I really appreciate you jumping on the show, and I wish you the best of luck moving forward.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
What a phenomenal episode. I love the mock draft reaction episodes. It's fun to talk, how different people view the class. We're going to have a lot of opportunities down at the East-West Shrine Bowl, Senior Bowl, to talk more with these guys in person about these takes. I think that's where we learn a lot about how the league views players. I mean, go back to last time you and I were at Senior Bowl together was 2020, pre-pandemic, because obviously that was in January and February, pre-pandemic, pre-March of 2020 when things kind of all shifted. But man, we're back at it. This is where we're going to learn a lot. I'm excited for that opportunity. Until next time, guys, we're going to record tomorrow for the Thursday episode. But Austin Gayle, see you later, Gators. Later, Gators? Not bad. Later, Gators. Austin Gayle, Mike Renner, Tailgate.